Welcome, everyone. Joe with ECRM and RangeMe here, and I have with me today Teresa Ging, who is the CEO and founder of Sugar Bliss, which is both a retailer with a location in Chicago, as well as a CPG supplier who's been very successful on RangeMe. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the business and some of the factors behind that success. So, Teresa, thank you so much for joining us. And to start off, give us an overview of the company, of your roots as a retailer, and then take us through your product lineup.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me here. My name is Teresa Ging. I'm the CEO and founder of Sugar Bliss. We are a woman and minority owned retail bakery, but we also sell our packaged cookies at retailers and food service. So, how did I get started with this? So, I actually was in finance for about 6 years and worked at various Wall Street firms. Covering like food stocks, food service stocks, food retail, not even knowing I'd go into food. And then one day, a friend of mine was sifting powdered sugar, and it looked so therapeutic that I asked her if I could try it. And I decided to, quit the corporate world and enroll in pastry school. So I left the corporate world and went to Le Cordon Bleu Paris and got my pastry certificate. And so I was there for a couple months. Really enjoyed my time there. And so when I came back to Chicago, and this was back in 2007-ish, I thought maybe I should open a bakery in downtown Chicago. So I ended up opening a retail store in 2009 and just with cupcakes. And then over the next, 10, now we're 17 years old, 10 years, we expanded our product line. So we now have over 200 different products at the retail store, from cupcakes, cake pops, French macaroons, gluten-free, vegan. So we've really expanded our portfolio. Then in 2020, I'm sitting in my store, trying to figure out how to keep, pivot. And so I decided, how do I, and we had a lot of customers asking, hey, how do we get your cookies? Can you ship nationwide? Can we buy that? Where can we buy them? And it got me thinking maybe we need to expand and go into retailers because that's where everyone was going to shop, retailers and drugstores. So I took our most popular cookies and made them shelf stable. And so we have the sea salt chocolate chunk, a rainbow sugar, and then we have a cookie with potato chips, pretzels, cereal, chocolate chips, oats, and a hint of coffee. So you probably just said, oh my God. So we took those top three cookies and shelf stabled them. And our first retailer that we launched in was Walgreens. So we launched in 25 Walgreens. We were selected to be part of their 5 Forward program. So we're hoping over the next 5 years we're growing to grow with them and become a nationwide brand with them. But yeah, that's how we kind of went from retail store to into the retailers.
That's great. So back in 2020, so did you have to close your retail location during the 2020 in those years?
Well, actually, we did not close. We actually kept our store open.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I had two stores at the same time, and so we ended up just consolidating into one store.
Hmm.
And we kept the store running, and so I basically manned it. Helped the customers. I did some baking, kind of went back to square one again. And then we just kept opening. We just shipped nationwide, and that's when I had a lot more time to develop
Hmm.
the product into shelf stable. But yeah, I mean, since we went, I opened in 2009 through recession. We went through the 2020, but we stayed open through any kind of economic, any kind of issues that went on in the world.
Yeah, wow. So you have two pivots, right? From finance
Yes,
to retail, then another pivot to CPG,
yes,
and you went through all of those tough times.
yes.
So now, with all of those things that you sell at the store, how do you leverage your learnings at retail to guide your product innovation on the CPG side? Because it must be like a little lab, like you could test things out with your customers there.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, we have customers that can tell us instant feedback, and so we, have walk-in customers, but we also have corporate customers. We again, when we first started out, we just had maybe like 25 cupcake flavors. And now we have over 100 cupcake flavors. And then, obviously we have brownie, and we can test things. If something doesn't sell, then we don't, we kind of discontinue it. So it's great to have the retail store to have that kind of way to test it with customers.
Gotcha. And tell us a little bit about your food service customers.
Yeah.
How are you working with them as well? Because you're working with both retailers and food service operators.
Yeah, I feel like with being in the retail store, we touch a lot of, again, we have the retail store, we have the retailers, we're in Walgreens, we launched with KeHE, a major distributor. We're in Compass Group, and we just launched with them in May. So we have the 2-ounce size cookie with them. But it's a different market out there for, food service. With them, they like to grab and go as well. So, right now we just did a tasting, but at one of the office cafeterias. So
Mhm.
it can go in office cafeterias, it can go in higher education and colleges, concessions. We're talking to a major sports arena in Chicago with our cookies, both from the bakery and the retailers, and also a major university and a major conference center. So the great thing is that we can do both like the bakery part and the retail, stuff that they need a little bit more shelf stable.
Hmm. So maybe I'll see some of your cookies on the plane when I'm flying one of these days.
Yes, that is one of our goals. Yeah, we've been talking to airlines as well to hopefully
Mhm.
get on there as well.
Yeah, there are a couple. There are a couple of items, very popular items that you see on airlines that were actually found at ECRM sessions.
Oh,
Yeah,
great. I hope I'm one of them.
so yes, I picture yours like in first class though, when
Yeah.
they're giving it with the meal because it looks very upscale, very high end. Um, so tell us about some of your successes in RangeMe because I know you've participated in a lot of different summits.
Yeah, so I did not know about RangeMe until I was in the cohort called Top Shelf, which is sponsored by Walgreens at the time, and WBDC, which is a Women's Business Development Center. And so, again, this was in 2021-ish, and I was just trying to learn how to take our product and get it into retail. It's more kind of learning, and then you guys presented. And I was like, oh, okay, this is great. Like, this is a platform where buyers can see suppliers, like, and so, probably 6 months after the program, when we actually had a product in a shelf bag ready with UPC and all that stuff, I put our product there. And I believe that was probably in early 2022.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, and then, I saw these one-time submissions
Mhm.
and I was like, and I knew that, every year you have one submission with a buyer, but then you have all these like, you can do these one-time submissions as, you see fit. And there's a lot of times it's, a lot more like supplier diversity,
Mhm.
local brand, like local campaign, some cookies and snacks. But, again, I apply for them all, and, I probably had, I don't know, 15 to 20 meetings
Mhm.
through ECRM, RangeMe and ECRM. And I mean, again, it's very challenging as a supplier. You cannot, even if you were to find every single category buyer, you cannot just knock on and say, hey, I'd like a
Mhm.
one-on-one. So these are great ways to get in front of a buyer and have, a 15-minute to 30-minute pitch with them to talk about your product. And again, I mean, we've gotten a lot of meetings and we've gotten also, Compass Group is one of those that we were very successful in. We met with them probably over a year before we launched.
Mhm.
And that's what I would tell people, it does take time, they want to make sure, hey, we put you in the right timing. And so we had talked to Compass and they ended up putting us in their retail incubator program this May. So we just launched with them.
Mhm.
And we went from just regional placement to national. They decided to do national placement. So that was really exciting. We've had meetings. I pitched to Albertsons back in I think April, and they put us in the category line review. So we're talking next steps as that. So yeah, I mean, we've had so much great, so it's a lot of good meets. Even this week, I had a pitch with Hannaford and Food Lion. So I do all this. I encourage everyone to do those one-time submissions because they're, very, you know, they can, get you to that next level to meeting those buyers.
You bring up a good point. There's you have as a premium member, and also I believe so we have two different routes that you could go on RangeMe if you want to be proactive, right? So you could build your profile and leave it up there and not do anything, and then
Right.
you just get the exposure. But as a starter member, you can participate in the limited time submissions or the special summits. And I know you've done a lot of those. Like, for example, the Compass Retail Incubator Review that you talked about. But
Right,
there's
right.
also the various diversity, supplier diversity summits. You have like the Kroger Go Fresh and Local.
Yes.
So there's a lot of these different summits where there's two components. One is submit your products through RangeMe, and then if you're selected, you get a meeting through ECRM Connect, which is the virtual meeting platform for ECRM. So you have that pitch kind of thing. But then there's some others where you could directly submit, and you could do those you could do once a year, and you have to be a premium subscriber for that, which you are. But it's good to
Yes,
see that
yes.
you're very proactive in
Mhm.
submitting, and
Definitely.
you jump on any review that you can. Plus, the cool thing is when we put a list of who is reviewing different categories on the site, we're telling you, listen, the retailer is interested in this category
Yes.
right now, so why wouldn't you do it?
Yes. No, exactly. I mean, I definitely think that doing the premium subscription is, that's just a no, that you have to do that one. I mean, getting, being able to do the one-time submission, but also, again, you have to just kind of just like supplier diversity, like, obviously we're women minority owned, but, you have to actively, pursue that, getting an RFP. I mean, getting that finalized contract. It doesn't just happen, and same thing, you have to be active and submitting and stuff. And I forgot to highlight, with KeHE, I think almost 2 years ago, they do this trend finder like every, year. And I think 2 years ago I submitted it and we didn't get it, to the next round, which is fine, And then this past October I submitted it again, and then we actually got a chance to talk to the buyer. And so I talked to there was a cooking snacks buyer. I pitched to them, and I didn't even know that there was a golden ticket, until he told me we were the golden ticket winner. And I was like, and actually it's a funny thing, it was actually our 16-year anniversary, the day that it happened. So anyways, I thought I was the luckiest person. So but yeah, we were the golden ticket winner. And I didn't realize what that opportunity was until I just recently did the KeHE Holiday Trend Show. And having being a golden ticket winner allowed us to be available in all 13 DCs.
Hmm.
So as retailers are coming to visit my booth and they say, we're in DC 18, are you there? Are you DC 1? We're in all of them. And that is because I was able to get that opportunity through ECRM and RangeMe and just pitch, So, I mean, I'm grateful for that because that is very life changing as a supplier.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you pointed that out. The fact that this is a long-term thing. A lot of brands, if they're really new, they think, oh, I'm going to get on RangeMe or go to an ECRM session. Boom, I'm going to be on the shelves in a couple of months. It's
Mhm.
like, no, even when they say yes in the meeting, it's a long-term process before you finally get that signed order. Could you take us through, you can name the retailer or food service operator or not, but can you just take us through like from the first submission, right? What you went through in terms of how many communications you had back and forth, how many months did it take, how many samples did you have to send, how many different people you had to meet with before the actual signed order, and then how long it took to actually get on some of the shelves or locations.
Yeah. So Compass Group, I believe it was over a year. Well, part of the things is like when we talked to Compass Group, we only had a 5 ounce package,
Hmm.
and food service, five ounce at 5.99 or MSRP. With food service, they want more kind of a grab and go, like a lower price point. So, we sent the samples to them even before the meeting. Sometimes retailers will ask that, if they know that you're gonna have, they would like to have it so that and sometimes it's after the fact. So, anyways, with this one, we had it before the meeting. So by the time we talked, it was already like a green light. And then, she was interested in our product, but, she also said, I think if you guys come out with a grab and go, so you kind of have to listen to the retailer too. Maybe they can provide some insightful feedback for you. And so at the time, I wasn't really looking into expanding to food service, but then I was like, a grab and go would actually be great because it also differentiates ourselves in the marketplace. There's not a lot of premium cookies shelf stable. So she said, come revisit, when that happens. So 4 months in, we already, by the time we started develop, we are almost had it almost developed. So I again send a email, say, hey, we're about to launch this 2 ounce size. And so she's like, great, and that was kind of the trigger, like, okay, let me get them starting staging into when I want to place in the retail incubator. So, again, it's also trying to understand their pricing model and stuff like that. So we originally were going to launch in November of 2023, just regionally in Chicago. But I think also, with the buyers, it's not just like your product has to be good. They want to work with really good retailers, suppliers, easy to work with. I hear this all the time, like easy to work with. They want to make sure you can deliver and all this stuff. And so even though, in November, she decided, hey, I'm going to put you in national, which is even better for us. And so we end up waiting another 5 months, but it actually was better for us too, just because we end up launching in May. AAPI month. It's like a
Hmm.
bigger launch. So, and also we're now national. So instead of just being regional to maybe like 30 of their outlets, we end up launching to 500 outlets. So
Hmm.
the first shipment that we had was like almost 50,000 cookies. So, so yeah, it does take time.
Hmm.
With, KeHE, again, as I said, the first time we didn't get
Hmm.
the meeting, that's fine. You try again. And then the second time we did, and then in fact we got to the golden ticket winner. From that, it took about a month for them to send the onboarding. And then actually it took us a little bit of time just to, because at the beginning of the year it's a little bit crazy for our retail store business with Valentine's and stuff. But we end up finishing all the onboard paperwork probably mid-May, and then we did the show. So again, it's how fast you want to move, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And also you need to make sure you understand their paperwork. Um, you know, Payee is a distributor, they have FOB, they have delivered. So you need to make sure which pricing method makes sense to you. And so again, the buyer is, there to answer questions and when you're ready, and I had a really good buyer answered all our questions and said, hey, when you're ready to launch, just let us know. And so, we were ready to launch in May. So it took a little bit of time, but then we did the holiday show. So, yeah, again, you can sometimes it takes the buyer a little bit longer, but you have to,
Hmm.
again, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes, absolutely. And communication is so important. That back and forth and being available and listening.
Mhm.
Listening. I actually did a post recently, what that was the title, the importance of listening to buyers because
Mhm.
they will tell you what they want and then
Mhm.
you give it to them and it works. And
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, this is a marathon. It does take a while. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes you'll call on somebody for years and nothing happens and then all of a sudden either their trends among their customers shift in your favor, maybe a new buyer takes over the desk and they love your stuff.
yeah.
There's a lot of different reasons. So you just have to be consistent, persistent too, but not annoying. Not you can't be harassing them, but stay front of mind. And that's where these things are. Being on RangeMe, being active in all of these things. What do you attribute your two things, right? One's a RangeMe question, the other one is the ECRM question, the meeting
Mhm.
question. So, what do you think or what makes for a successful RangeMe experience?
Yeah, I think that once you get the meeting, I actually had a couple meetings this week, and even though there were 30-minute pitches, and sometimes they're 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and these buyers are like back to back to back, and
Hmm.
like I think that once you get the meeting, make sure you have a good, well thought out pitch deck.
Hmm.
It has everything in there, your capabilities, your pricing, all that stuff, so that they're not really having to like ask you. I mean, they can ask you questions, but they're not like, I mean, I think now I've done so many pitches that were very concise that everything is in there.
Hmm.
And so I actually am giving the buyers back some of their time so that they can actually write some feedback. So I had a retailer this week that I met with, and we end up, giving him back 10 minutes of a time, and he wrote some feedback and, said like, let's, that send some samples. We have our category line review in a month, and, let's, they're having the reset in February. So
Hmm.
the next step is, make sure you follow through, so I'm going to be sending him samples, and then he's going to, try them out, and hopefully, after he tries the samples, follow up again, and, so a lot of times it's like, if you as a supplier you have to follow through because the buyers get inundated, and what there's one large retailer, I've been following up like every couple weeks,
Hmm.
just to see like if anything else. And so you definitely need to keep following up with the buyers but not be annoying.
Hmm. Yep. No, definitely. And it sounds like you participate in a lot of things because you're always doing these meetings, right? So now are these virtual meetings that you're doing through some of these summits?
Yeah, so I would say like 90% of my meetings have been with RangeMe and ECRM virtual. I did
Hmm.
do one in person. I actually have a
Hmm.
pitch tomorrow for another grocer in person. So it
Hmm.
is always like changing it up a little bit.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you just have to know your story,
Hmm.
and be able to like, sell it.
Yeah, and I think I also you bring up giving the buyer back time
Mhm.
and letting them use that time if they want to drop off early or if they have questions. I mean, it's important to have your pitch deck, but you don't want it to be too much of the presentation. You want to give them a little bit of time to have a back and forth because then you could talk about some of those things like, the packaging and the pricing and logistics and all that.
Mhm. Yeah, I would definitely say like if it's a 15-minute meeting, give 50% pitch, 50% Q&A.
Hmm.
You never want your pitch to be the entire meeting or get cut off.
Hmm.
So yeah, you definitely should just like make sure, time yourself, do it in front of the mirror, do it in front of your dog.
Hmm.
So
Yep, yep. So now I know you do a lot, like I mentioned, you're very active, you're very proactive on the platform. What about the your profile itself? Like how do you build your profile? What do you include on it to try and draw people coming to you on RangeMe?
yeah, I mean, it's so funny. Like I think we just updated the banner. I think
Hmm.
the banner is the first thing that people look at. So we put all our cookies. I mean, I think so definitely the banner is very important. Make sure you have all your product. If you have additional retailers, you should probably add that on there.
Hmm.
Um, but I even go look at like who's viewed me, too.
Hmm.
Make sure all your notifications are there, like, when people DM you saying, I want samples, like make sure you get them and know that, that they've asked for samples and stuff like that and follow through. But yeah, I mean, we have like 6 products basically on there. So I mean, I know there are a lot of other people that maybe have 20 different products.
Hmm.
So I would say just keep your profile because that's when you do the submission, that's what they're looking at too.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's good. Yeah, I mean, you have so many products that you can offer that you can put on there, but and there's benefits to having more, because like you said, you do a submission, and then that's what the buyer sees when they go in there, and then maybe you're submitting one particular product, but once they're in your profile, they may wander around and see something else, and I always tell Range Me premium subscribers that, like, let's say they go to an ECRM session in person. Well, at the end of their meeting, they should always share their profile link with the buyer they met face to face with, because this way the
Mhm.
buyer can look through everything at their leisure. And I've had some brands tell me that, they met with the buyer and they discussed a few key items, but then when the buyer was wandering through, ended
Mhm.
up stumbling upon a couple of other items that they ended up taking on as well. So you never know. So
Yeah.
it's good to have a
Yeah.
complete. It's good to have the highlights, women owned, diverse owned,
Mhm.
those any particular ingredient call outs, the customers, like you mentioned, the customers or the places where you already have had wins, because that's one of the questions buyers always ask, where else are you?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, putting retailer logos on there allows them to see, like my site actually has a retailers and then also distributors, because a lot of times they want to, a lot of retailers, you're not going to go directly to their DC unless, I mean, like the larger ones, and they will buy through a distributor just to test it out and stuff. And so when they know that you're in KE or Unify, it kind of like, oh, okay, like great, one less hurdle to get your product
Yeah,
in there. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important to keep your profile up to date.
excellent. So, what's next for Sugar Bliss?
Yeah, I mean, we are continuing expanding in different types of markets. So, as I said, we're in retailers like Walgreens, we're in a department store like Macy's, we're in food service like Compass Group, we're with a major distributor now with KeHE. So yeah, I mean, I think over the next 12 months, we're just constantly meeting with as many retailers. And what's great about our cookie is like, we are a premium cookie. We're not gluten-free vegan. We're just a really good, delicious cookie. But we also use sustainable packaging, and a portion of the proceeds go back to support women minority entrepreneurs. So we have a powerful social mission that is behind our cookies as well. So, I'm hoping we'll continue to, help the earth and help more women minority entrepreneurs get start up their businesses with as more people are buying more of our cookies.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on your success, both in the retail and in food service. And I look forward to maybe meeting you in person at one of our
Yeah.
sessions in the future.
Yep. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you. And anybody who's interested, scan the QR code that's right next to Teresa,
Oh,
and you'll go to the website.
yep.
Thank you
Thank
again.
you.